one of those places where a little river pours into the Dead Sea, you might have the strange experience of seeing something that could not occur anywhere else on the face of this entire planet. You might see a strong, healthy fish swimming in that river, darting back and forth, looking for food, but slowly and surely the current of the river is pushing it further and further, closer to the Dead Sea. And then, as the river pours into that Dead Sea and takes the fish with it, a strange thing would happen. The fish would begin swimming desperately in circles, opening its gills wide, looking for air. It would be gasping, it would be dying, and within just a few seconds, that fish would be dead, poisoned by the salt in the Dead Sea. It would float belly up to the surface, and because of the great density of the water, it would float nearly entirely out of the water. And then the wind that comes down the steep valleys into the Dead Sea would pick it up and throw it onto the shore, as if the poisonous sea, being satisfied that it had killed its prey, was now glad to spit it back out onto the land. Wouldn't happen anywhere else but in the deadly Dead Sea. What a strange place it is. To tell you a little bit about it, you need to know why it is dead and why it does that to the fish. First of all, the land that is at the shore of the Dead Sea is the lowest land below sea level on the surface of the planet. It is 400 meters lower than sea level. And the reason for that is that the Dead Sea, it lies in a valley which is an extension of the great African Rift Valley, extending all the way from South Africa up into Europe. It's like two tectonic plates which are together, but slowly being pulled apart. And if you can imagine a big piece of toffee being pulled apart, where it grows thin in the middle, it sags down. And that's what has happened at the Dead Sea. The lowest point on the face of the earth, and then the sea itself is another 300 meters deep, going down and down deep into the earth. The other question people always have about the Dead Sea is this: why is it so salty? It's 10 times saltier than any ocean. And the reason is this: lots of rivers drain into the Dead Sea, including the Jordan River. And like with every river, those rivers bring with them minerals like salt and sulfur, and they dump them into the sea. What makes the Dead Sea different is that there are no outlets from it. It's so low down, there's no place for the water within it to go. And so all of those rivers that come in, no water goes out, except by evaporation. And very often through the hot season, the Dead Sea will shrink down by 2.5 centimeters every day by evaporation. But as the water evaporates, what is taken away is fresh water. All the minerals that have been coming in for thousands of years stay there. That's why it's so salty. That's why it kills everything that falls into it. The only thing that grows in the Dead Sea are 11 different kinds of bacteria. Now imagine this. Ezekiel, in around the year 586 BC, goes down to the Dead Sea and has a vision. This is what Ezekiel sees. He sees the whole sea filled up with little fishing boats, and fishermen casting their nets out into the Dead Sea and pulling those nets back in, teeming feeding with living, healthy fish. And he goes off and he starts to tell people this vision. I have seen fishermen on the Dead Sea. And of course, everyone laughs at poor Ezekiel and says, Ezekiel, don't you know nothing can thrive in the Dead Sea? And he says, oh, but an angel picked me up and took me there, and I saw the fishermen as sure can be. When they questioned him further, they begin to say, well, where did the fresh water come from that was enough to freshen the deadly water of that sea? And then Ezekiel gets to the real point of his vision, and he says this to them: the angel of the Lord picked me up in spirit and took me to the temple. And we stood at the altar in the temple, and I noticed a little trickle of water coming out from underneath the altar and flowing out of the temple towards the east. Of course, all the people listening would know that coming out of Jerusalem to the east was what?